Listen, the more you learn, the more you earn. Welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Smiley Freeman. Today, I want to get on here and talk to you guys about the bad professor excuse that students use to justify why they failed a particular class or why they got bad grades in a particular class. It's been a minute since I posted a YouTube video. Please forgive me. I am in my full-time semester now, and I've been extremely busy with that, just trying to get a grip on everything. It's my first time doing full-time, so nevertheless, it has been pretty hectic. The first quarter, we're already 4 weeks in, so yeah, the first quarter was definitely pretty hectic. So just forgive me. I haven't really had time to sit down and prioritize making YouTube videos. This is just a hobby for me. So I kind of just do it, when I have time to do it. But I got time today. So I want to talk to you guys about this topic. I think this is a really, really important topic because all in all, I think, it's really important for us to always self-reflect and essentially look at ourselves in the mirror. As we go through life. So I want to start off with, saying or answering the question, is there such thing as a bad professor? Yes. There is a such thing as being a bad professor. Teaching, what I've learned about teaching is that it definitely is a skill. To be able to teach a topic or a concept to somebody or multiple people in such a way that everybody gets it, no matter where they're at in their intellectual capacity. That takes a lot of skill to be able to deliver a message to multiple people, and everybody can get it, no matter how you explain it. So that's not easy. I do not think that any and everybody should be able to just be a professor because it is a real skill. I've done some little small minor tutoring, and I've even struggled with trying to explain, how I'm coming up with this answer or how my brain perceives this question to certain people, and they just can't seem to get it. So it's definitely a skill, and yes, there is a such thing as bad professors because of that. Every professor is not equipped to be able to teach students, but nevertheless, although there is such thing as a bad professor, I think the first thing that you need to understand as a college student is that it is not the professor's job to essentially teach you the topic, right? How I view it is that their job is to expose you to the concept of whatever it is that they're trying to teach you, and it is up for you to take that exposure and pretty much dive into it and teach yourself, right? And that's what college is for. College is a structure for you to essentially self-educate yourself, right? It's not nobody else's job to do that. That's your job to make sure that you comprehend the material. And so I say all that to say I took my first organic chemistry exam on Monday, and for the lack of a better phrase, it was a disaster. I did absolutely horrible. I think I got a 62. So not my first time failing the exam or anything like that, but definitely that's not how I wanted to, kick off the start of my semester in the first quarter. I typically like to do as well as I can in the beginning. Um, that way, if I do fail an exam later on and my teacher is dropping the exam, it's not really a big deal. So I don't really like to start off bad, but nevertheless, I did make a YouTube video about what to do when you fail an exam. And essentially what I said is just brush it off and keep it pushing. And that's what I'm doing. Keep it pushing and just, also realize, what you did wrong, know what you did wrong and know what you need to do better for the next one so it doesn't happen again. But yeah, it was a disaster. Now, my organic chemistry tutor or teacher is definitely not the best professor. Probably one of the worst professors that I've ever had as far as teaching style. Now, I have one or two options. I could either say, well, you know what, I failed the exam because my professor is just not good at teaching this concept of organic chemistry to me, or I can look at myself in the mirror and say, okay, what did you do wrong? And essentially, that's the bad part about the blaming the professor or saying, my professor, is not a good teacher and he's or she is the reason why I failed the class, because it allows you to always do this and never do this, right? You never really look at yourself. You're always pointing the finger, and pointing the finger is really easy to do. And at the end of the day, even if you have a bad professor, you have to look at the statistics, right? If your professor is that bad, essentially what you're saying is that if you failed, then nobody passed. And that's not true, right? When I look at when my professor showed us the statistics of the exam, our class average was about 70%, which is pretty good. I expected it to be a lot lower, but that's pretty good, considering. There's about 100 some of us in that class, so a 70 average is pretty decent. And the highest grade was like 101%. So if the professor was just so bad, everybody would have failed, right? Nobody would have gotten a good grade, which means at the end of the day, you can't blame the professor for you failing a class, right? At the end of the day, it's all up to you. If your professor isn't good, then you need to go see a tutor, right? If you're not getting it from a tutor, you need to go ask a classmate who is doing well in the class and see what it is that they're doing. How are they studying? How are they preparing for the class? See if you can study with them. Essentially, getting an F and just completely failing the class, I think is just unacceptable. I think there's no reason for that. When you look at grades, at the end of the day, it's all a reflection of your efforts. So, me getting that 62 on the exam, I look at my effort. Where was my effort? When I was studying for this class, and although I might have felt like I put a lot of time, energy, and effort in, the grade says otherwise. And at the end of the day, I think that I should have definitely done a lot more practice problems. I kind of understood pretty much all the concepts, but I just didn't get enough practice in, and I think ultimately that's what led to me doing really poorly on that exam, which is not getting enough practice time in. So you always got to look at yourself at the end of the day. There's no such thing as you failing a class because the professor's bad, because pretty much what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a space to either fail the class or you're gonna have to drop the class, right? And that's pretty much what you're saying, right? If you failed this exam because the professor's bad, that means you're going to fail the second one, the third one, and you're just going to fail the class. You're never going to pass, right? And if there are people passing, then it's not the professor, it's you. So I think that is one thing that we as college students need to stop saying. I think that, yes, we can all agree that every professor is not a good professor, but at the end of the day, it's really up to you to go home and, teach yourself. That's what school is for. It is a structure for you to self-educate yourself, and you have to always remember that. They're going to expose you to the concept. You are going to take that concept, go home, go to a library, and you're going to dive deeper into that concept and make sure that not only do you get the bigger picture of the concept, but you also understand all the little itty bitty intricate details, so that you can be successful in your academic journey. So just wanted to put that out there. I know a lot of students at different schools probably have already taken their first exam. Um, and some people might have did well, some people might have did really bad like me. But I don't want you guys, blaming anybody for anything. At the end of the day, we always have to self-reflect and look at ourselves at the end of the day. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to me, and I'll see you all on the next clip.